now. Joey, good morning to you.
Good morning, Christy.
Thank you. The police admitting that there were mistakes. We don't see that very often, it seems. How does this admission affect any possible legal action?
Sure. You know, it could affect it significantly. And remember Tamir Rice that we've talked about before. That's the Cleveland 12-year-old who, of course, was shot and killed. And remember what happened there, where the city blamed him in legal papers, saying, you know, you contributed to your own death. It outraged the community. And so what I think here, in an effort at what we've heard a lot, transparency, to work with the community, to give information, to let the community know what's going on, they've erred on the side of common sense and, of course, community knowledge, community knowing, community participation. And so while legally it certainly would impair their position, from a practical perspective, you want to let people know exactly what happened. And so there's two tracks here that we should keep in mind, Christy. One, of course, is the prosecutorial track. If there's any criminality, then, of course, the officers will be prosecuted. The other admission relates to civil liability. And, you know, we should break those down because there were two admissions that were very critical. One about not being seatbelted. Now, that's not a crime in and of itself, not seatbelting anybody. But if you did it for a malicious purpose, and we've heard and talked about these, of course, rough rides where apparently in the past they have ridden prisoners around in an effort to harm them, then that could certainly constitute criminality. It depends upon their mental state. And then, of course, the other issue, not relating to not buckling them down, but related to not giving medical treatment. That, of course, in and of itself may not be criminal, but if there's deliberate indifference, meaning you know that he needs medical assistance and you're withholding it, then, of course, it could constitute, you know, something far worse. The Supreme Court said it could even rise to the constitutional rights violation under the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. I know you're harmed, but I'm not going to help you. So we'll have to wait and see.
CNN's Aaron Burnett spoke with Jason Downs. He's an attorney for Freddie Gray's family, and he had this to say about the new admissions by police.
It's certainly a step in the right direction. It's certainly a step toward acknowledging the truth that the police did not follow their own internal regulations with regard to strapping Mr. Gray with a seatbelt when he was inside of the van. That's a step in the right direction. But what it does not get at, it does not get at the core of this case, and that is, why did Mr. Gray need medical attention in the first place? Why was he crying out for help in the first place? That's the core of this case. That's the question that still has not been answered. That's the question we're looking for.
It hasn't been answered, Joey. Do you see that as more of a civil or criminal issue?
You know, Christy, it really could be both, and here's why. We do know that what they have done, that is the police department apparently, is they have looking at hiring spinal specialists. And in hiring those spinal specialists, the concern is that a spinal specialist will evaluate the body, and they'll find out what exactly was done to that spine. Is it something that is generally intentional? Is it something that requires real severe pressure? Is it something that could have been accidental? Is it something that is just a mystery? And so I suspect that they'll hire a number of spinal specialists because in this business, the business of law, sometimes, Christy, you have a battle of the experts. One spinal person will say one thing, another spinal person will say another. So it's important to get to the root cause. And I think that depending upon how those doctors evaluate the spine and what they find, it could lead certainly to a criminal prosecution as well as what we see coming, which is civil. And we know, Chrissy, that monetary benefiting of the family, you know, they much prefer to have Freddie Gray alive, but that's what our system has, is a wrongful death action, which provides for money.
We only have a couple of seconds, but I want to get this in, Joey. Of course, 5 of these officers have talked. The 6th has refused to cooperate. What does that tell you? Because immediately, I think that stands out to people.
It does, Christy, and two quick things. The first thing, of course, is apparently there was some police report that said he was arrested without incident. Now, that's a concern because apparently there was some incident because he's dead. The other issue in terms of not speaking, many times attorneys advise their clients don't speak. It can only hinder you, can only hurt you.
But will he have to speak at some point, I guess, is the question.
No, I mean, ultimately he has, his rights to remain silent, and that may be a right that he exercises throughout. It may certainly hurt him administratively in any proceeding against him in terms of his job, but from a criminal perspective, oftentimes attorneys advise, you know what, that may be the least of your concerns. Again, I'm speculating. I don't know what, if any, involvement the officer who's not talking may have had, but if he did have involvement and he does speak, it could certainly lead to further issues for him. So generally lawyers say, you know what, it may impair your job, it may imperil your future, but that may be the least of your concerns. If there's a prosecution, don't say anything.
All righty. Hey, Joey Jackson, always appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Have a great day.
You too.